Yes.
Phoenix, Javier Dominguez, frankly got crushed. And, it's a bummer for Javier because we all love him. But, he also didn't look thrilled about the matchup if you were taking a look at the player cams. And we'll see how Shi Tian, kind of feels about how things go as the games unfold. But I expect Dimir Pact to win, but stranger things have happened.
That's right. Let's take a look here. We're going to be right along with Shi Tian on the bottom part of your screen. It looks like Shota's going to take a mulligan to 6 here with the pack deck. He does have one in hand right there, you can see.
It's a good looking hand.
Yeah, he runs 2 copies of that and 2 copies of Oracle. Every single card besides those 2 are singletons, including the lands. That's a deck building restriction really enforced by the pact itself. If you can meet that relatively tough restriction, some formats really just don't have critical mass of cards that are relevant to do that with. But if you can, and you can in Historic, then you get access to an incredibly powerful card. Not only does it do its originally designed goal of search up basically a card that you want, any card you want out of your library, but it acts as part of your win condition by exiling your library with the Oracle trigger on the stack and leading to a win.
A very, very, very good thought seize there from Shota.
Wow.
Taking care of that Sprite Dragon. And this is exactly what we talked about. If you kind of want to see exactly in practice what Marshall and I were talking about as far as a clock, a lacking of a clock and how important a clock is, just take a look at Shi Tian's hand. I mean, it's a couple of copies of Crackling Drake. Sure, you can flashback that Faithless Looting as you'd like, but for all intents and purposes, Shi has done nothing in these first handful of turns of consequence. And that just means that Shota just gets to kind of, just slowly build, not worry about too much. I'm still, I'm sitting at 18, blah, blah, blah. Not really underneath any pressure to do anything. And then it's a one of Narset, and you can shake your head all you want because I know it's frustrating, but it's busted in this matchup.
Completely busted, especially when you're trying to resolve a whole bunch of cards like Brainstorm and Faithless Looting that it just bricks. Even this card right here, Crackling Drake, does not, you see the wub over there from Narset saying, no, sir, you will not be drawing a card off of this Drake. And Shi Tian looks pretty frustrated about the situation here. And you can understand why. He's found himself in a dismal spot right now. Even this Crackling Drake is set to die. There's a Baleful Mastery in hand here for Shota that he can use to simply take it out of commission if that's what he decides to do to protect his Narset, which you would think he'd want to do.
And now you're also playing against an opponent who has no counter magic, so that means that you can kind of play your spells whenever you want to and know that not too much is really going to go wrong at all. And this is a cute little combo here, Marshall. Baleful Mastery in combination with Narset. Oh, sure, I'll pay 2 and you can draw a card. Go ahead.
That's
Go ahead,
sweet.
your features deck. Draw a card. Have one.
Oh, that is just sick. God, that's gross. 2 mana, exile a creature or planeswalker, and if you happen to have Narset, just no downside at all. Wow. Okay.
This is
Yeah, how are we feeling down there, Shi Tian? Because I think this is about as miserable as it gets. At this point, he may be hoping that Shota just finishes him off quickly here because this is just a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, and now we're going to see the second Crackling Drake come in, no cantrip, so it's just 4 mana, 3/4. In 2021 Magic, 4 mana, 3/4 flyer. That ain't cutting it.
God.
Yeah, it's getting ugly out here.
Narset is just clowning Shi Tian's deck right now. That is now the 3rd card denied, and on top of it, there are many top decks here for Shi Tian that look horrible with the Narset on the battlefield. He hasn't even gotten those. He's now holding a Shock and a Pillar of Flame. Just pure misery here.
Oh, so I guess we're going to play Master's Mind Acquisition, probably get the second piece of the combo, and you can safely do that because I'm sitting at 18. You want to kill my Narset? I don't care. You don't play any counter magic, so I'm just going to cast Oracle, it on the stack, cast Pact, and we're going to call it a good night here in just a moment. I've covered some one-sided beatings in my life, as I'm sure you have as well. This is about as one-sided as it gets in a game of competitive Magic between 2 Magic Hall of Famers. I mean, my goodness.
It really is. I mean, we've all seen when people have mana issues and it gets one-sided. Spells have been cast here. Land drops have been hit. This has been a fair match between the two, and it has just been. Oh, you saw it. I mean, Lee saw Narset hit the battlefield, and it was just like, oh my god, this is a disaster.
Players have taken game actions. That's true. It is true that is
willing to go. If you haven't seen the combo actually go off here in Historic, by the way, this is what it looks like. The ability from Thassa's Oracle goes on the stack. In this case, the Devotion is 4. So Shota just needs to get his library to below that. And what he's going to do now is click OK a whole bunch of times. He just needs to simply exile his library. And then when the ability resolves, he'll win the game on the spot. There's now nothing that Li Shi Tian can do from this point.
Yes. So this will be a win here for Shota in just a moment, and a very, very clean and easy one. And again, this is just kind of what I think this matchup is going to look like more often than not. And, it's funny, right? Because it's easy to say, oh, man, that one of Narset, how annoying. But it's going to be a one of something that gets the better of you. And the deck construction of the deck, the removal spells are redundant, the counter spells are redundant, the discard is redundant, the planeswalkers are redundant. Some of these cards are going to be better than others in specific spots, but they're all there for a reason. And nobody loves losing to a one of, especially in a deck that is full of one ofs, but it's not there on accident.
That's right. There is a dynamic here that we had a chance to see yesterday in the hands of Toralf Severin, and that the rope does continue while you're completing this game action, so you need to make sure that you have enough time to actually click through. But the good news for Shota is a timeout in the bank will make that not a problem at all. In fact, he even got it done before the timeout was needed. So game number 1 goes to Shota Yasooka. We didn't like the matchup, and now you got to see why, because that was absolute beating there from Shota.
Yeah, it was. And I don't think, and we take a look at Lee's sideboard, right? Abrades, not going to do it. Gust, not going to do it. Anger of the Gods, not going to do it. So we're talking about Mystical Dispute, Negate, Narset. 6 cards that come in, and okay, those cards are all totally fine. I don't have any problem with those. If you want to bring in the Brazen Borrower, sure, but you're seeing what gets sideboarded out. Pillar of Flame Shocks, Maximize Velocity, Lightning Axe, and Finale of Promise. So those cards are all going to go out. But one thing to note here, by taking those cards out of your deck, which makes sense to take them out of your deck, you are making your deck less explosive and less proactive, and you're making it more reactive. But these Arc-Light Phoenix decks want to be explosive and proactive. So I think there may be, in this game that we watch here, Marshall, some difficulty of bringing back Arc-Light Phoenix from the graveyard, some difficulty in making Sprite Dragon into a large threat, some difficulty in getting Stormwing Entity down ahead of schedule, because you are taking out those proactive red cards for reactive blue cards.
It's such a great point, because it's not easy to see on the surface, right? You just look at it and go, well, you're going to bring in these good cards because they're good out of the board. But these do not synergize with a deck that is heavily synergistic. In fact, very demanding. I mean, you have to cast 3 of those spells in one turn, and you don't have access to ones that don't cost you mana and replace themselves. That is a lot of pressure. There's a decent chance that Leah's stuck with a negate in hand and has 2 other spells and just can't get them out of his hand to get the Phoenixes rolling. Yeah, it might buy you some time. It might give you opportunities for a draw where you can get any type of pressure out and then protect it with a negate. But that's a very tightrope walk. You are not giving yourself a lot of wiggle room there, and you are diminishing your deck's best possible draws by not having access to these proactive spells that you just mentioned, Said. So let's keep an eye on that as we go through. It looks like Faithless Looting in hand here for Lee, but he's going to pass on actually casting it on turn 1.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty good hand here for Shota once again. It's funny, right? Because most of his hands, I think I'm going to look at, I'm just going to go like, oh yeah, that's a nice mix of things because it's all one of. So, that's a pretty good mix.
This is a good mix.
Yeah. It's always going to be a pretty good mix.
Yeah. Temple of Deceit kick things off here for Yasooka. Passes the turn back over to Lee. Lee does have a couple of copies of Expressive Iteration, but this isn't a great time to play that card just yet. Curious to see what Lee's plan is here. I was kind of assuming he would just go for Faithless Looting here on 2. But let's see what he does.
Time to get a good look Looks like
All
we might just
right.
go
He
to
just is
iteration.
going
All
to
right.
use expressive iteration as a mana efficient way to get himself a card in hand. That's all he's going to do. He found a mountain.
Okay. So it is.
Fair enough. Sometimes you just need a land,
Yep.
and maybe he's trying to set up for a turn where he can actually do all the things.
I mean, that's obviously that's the low end of that card, but it is an end of it.
Mm-hmm. Here's Faithless Looting now.
Looks like we might be thinking about stopping this somehow. Nah. Okay.
Yeah, he does have Drown in the lock, but he just says, yeah, go ahead. And interestingly, Lee does find an opt here, but looks like not going to be on the menu for this particular turn. He's thinking a bit longer game. He's going to go with Stormwing Entity. And this is powerful, right? We mentioned that the way that Lee wins, if he does, is by a careful balance of a clock plus disruption. And there goes the clock. Cast down is going to take that down. So cancel that order. We are right back to square one here for Shi Tian. He tried. Solve the equation. Another new card here for Shota. And he's going to go get his most powerful option.
Let's go find it. Piece one of the combo, which also plays the role of Demonic Tutor in this deck, and then some.
Mm-hmm. So now we see expressive iteration. A little awkward with Arclight Phoenix, right? Like your hand is the only place it can really go. Unless you have a whole bunch of mana and cast it from exile. But the other one doesn't actually put it in the graveyard. It puts it into your library. Okay, Sprite Dragon. We're back on with the attack force. So once again, Shota does have to deal with this at some point, but it feels like he's got a lot of time here. And he could have just peeled there too, but looks like we're gonna play some more Magic. He's gonna play Maze Mind Tome. He also has Brainstorm, Fae of Wishes, Drown in the Lock, and then the one known card here from Shi Tian side is a Pact.
Yeah, so he continues to sit pretty, maybe thinking about actually just casting Fae of Wishes as a 1/4 flying blocker in this spot, which doesn't seem terrible. But Drown the Lock also just says, you know what, get that little thing out of here, can cast it now so I don't have to worry about something like a Mystical Dispute and keep moseying along.
Yeah, and he's doing, he's doing the opposite of what Lee wants him to do, which is Lee needs to stick a threat and then back it up. If he can't stick a threat, then he can have all the backup counter spells he wants. He's not going to be able to fight through what Shota can put together if he gets time. This does help, though. The Sprite Dragon, a little awkward here with Chart, of course, but it's worth it for the extra card, although he did miss a land drop there. That's a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, now Shota's on the old 2-outer. If I find Thassa's Oracle, you're dead right now, which is...
Right, you just GG it.
Yep, and just end the game right now if that's the draw step. Might scry on the upkeep, yep.
Yeah. Hey, it's worth it to go for a shot to just win the game right now, even if it is only a 2-outer. He bottomed. And let's see what he drew for the turn. Well, he found Wishclaw Talisman, which is kind of an oracle.
I'd say that's a way to find it.
There's also Brainstorm here, though he would need an untapped land to go with it if he would win this turn. And it doesn't look like he's found it anyway.
Kind of just that kind of it has kind of that like that Dimir Inverter, Splinter Twin, other combo decks feelings where it's just kind of like, well, I hope you just don't put A plus B together. And it's like, well, I'm trying. And then it's like a sigh of relief. It's like, okay, well, you don't have it. It's like, yeah, but I got a lot of ways to find it.
Yeah, it really does have that vibe. I mean, Shi Tian has kind of relegated himself. I think he was hoping to hit a blue source to leave up Mystical Dispute that last turn off the Chart, of course. But yeah, he just has to shrug, right? Because it's just, hey, if you kill me, you kill me.
Got Eternal Kefnet, huh? This was actually my preview card from that set. That's actually pretty cool. I haven't seen this one on the battlefield in a long time.
Wow.
I think one could say not the best card from War of the Spark, given some of the powerful cards from that set, but no slouch in and of itself.
It's a sweet one too.
It's hitting it's leaving for a moment.
That's right. It'll be put into Shota's library. What is it? Third from the top, I think.
It is third from third from the top. Confirmed.
There we go. So hold on a minute. We'll be back in a little while. In the meantime, this is finally another 3 damage coming in, down to 13 goes Shota. He's got plenty of time, but Lee's starting to form something that looks like a clock here. He can cast a Brazen Borrower as well if nothing better happens. There's Wishclaw Talisman. That's going to be very scary. Shota will use that the same turn to go off and make sure that he shuts Shi Tian out from being able to activate it himself. And now Lee has to decide if he wants to bounce the Wishclaw Talisman with Petty Theft, or if he just needs to get the 3/3 on the or the 3/1 flyer on the battlefield and start attacking with the dang thing. Looks like he realizes I can't finish off the game next turn.
Yeah, definitely not.
This also does get him 2 counters because he'll get a Brazen Bar or Petty Theft trigger, and then he can Brainstorm here if he'd like to. Oh, he's not going to. That would have got him another counter anyway, so he would only have been 1 damage down. Now he is 2 damage down from where he was, unless he casts both Brainstorms pre.
Yeah, this is interesting. You can go Brainstorm, Flashback, Faithless Looting, Brainstorm again. In that discarding, it would be a Phoenix, but he didn't find a land in all of this, and so the problem now is that he'd love to have a land in order to then still represent Mystical Dispute, but he did find another copy of Faithless Looting. So I think that, well, bringing back Arclight Phoenix is going to be, it should be somewhat trivial. Should be.
Okay. 7/7, by the way, is this little flyer.
I think you want that land.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if the negate changes anything here.
Because you want to have negate plus dispute up, and you've already played 3 spells, right? You've played Brainstorm, Looting, Opt, and now you have 2 counter spells up, and now this is an attack for 10. Now this is what it's got to look like, folks. It's got to look like this in order for Shi Tian to win this matchup. I might snap that. I don't know. I may have countered that. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Whew.
You see the combo in hand here for Shota.
Yep. I think, okay, this is interesting now. So, combos in hand. Maze Mind Tomb at 3 can go to 4. You also have
7.
So you go to 7, which means you I don't know exactly what card he's looking at on the top of his deck, because there's a way to, he can also play Fae of Wishes to chump block the Sprite Dragon and not die.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, we're getting into some interesting territory here where now it's about like, hey, how do I buy some time, stay alive, blah blah blah. Looks like that's a Doomblade on top.
I think that might be a Doomblade.
Kind of interested in Doomblade.
Yeah, right? I mean, that could be a whole nother turn.
I kind of like leading out with the Doomblade. Yeah.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah. You want to fight? Oh, yeah.
Let's do this.
All right, so we're going to fight over that. Okay. Well, okay, so you do that to get a counter spell, and now you're kind of, if your plan was to cast Fae of Wishes, you can't really do that anymore. So
right,
because that gets disputed.
Maybe
so I guess
Shota just goes for it in that case, and Lee has the exact card he needs.
Okay, so you can't. Okay, so this, we should see another turn, right? So you play Thassa's Oracle, gets countered. You play Fae of Wishes, you have a 1/4 blocker, and this still gives you Peel equity.
Okay.
Right, you should get another turn, and that means you get another Scry. You get to gain 3 life, and you still have half your combo in hand. So You're gonna go to 6, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay. I think Shota gets another turn here, Marshall, because I guess we can start by flashing back Faithless Looting.
Yeah, he
Try to
doesn't
find a
need
way.
much.
Um,
Ooh, there's an Arclight Phoenix. Did he just
yeah, but
cast it?
doesn't have the mana. He's only got 6 mana total.
Wow.
So if you play, so now you discard Arclight Phoenix Sprite Dragon. You play Sprite Dragon, and then you attack for 4. And
Yeah,
of
he
course,
goes to 7 chump blocks.
yeah, it goes down to 3, or goes
Yeah.
down to 2, down to 2. Okay, it looks like he's going to keep the Arclight Phoenix. Okay.
Well, I guess if he can't kill him this turn anyway, he'd rather have the Phoenix for next turn.
Yeah.
So here we go. Maze Mind Tome is going to get activated.
Oh no!
Uh-oh.
Not like this.
Uh-oh. All right, we're going to figure out what's going on and
we're going to
get
give the
us back
fans
to there. Boy, that was good timing.
The ultimate sweat.
Wow, I'm like, what happened? What's going on? And then it's just spinning. So, oh boy, we get all the sweats this weekend. We'll have to take a minute while our producer takes a look and tries to get us back to that point. My God, they're giving me a heart attack with this stuff here. That game was coming right down to the wire. And again, we'll be back right into it once we can. But holy smokes, that is about as close as they get. It did make me think. So one of the oracles is gone now.
Yeah.
What if the last one's in like the bottom card or bottom couple of cards of the library? Can you just?
I mean, that's an out,
right?
Like that's an out. And so, okay, so right now there's the ability to, with the Maze Mind's Tome. So he's already activated and scryed. But like if he finds either Oracle or Pact, he wins, right? Because if he finds Pact, that means he has 2 packs in his hands. He packs for an Oracle, then plays Oracle, then plays Pact because he has 6 mana. And then if he finds just Oracle, then he has Pact plus Oracle, you're dead. So those are both insta wins. If he doesn't find either one of those, what is he? Does he taint a pack for something else? What does that look like? Is it XL one of? So you're effectively demonicking for some sort of sweeper potentially, yada, yada, yada. So it ends up looking kind of interesting in this spot, depending on what the scry was with the Maze Mind's Tome and what the draw step is.
Right. And because there are actual wins, it does feel like cold removal spells aren't going to quite get the job done given the Phoenix in hand for Shi Tian. Though that being said, Shota doesn't know about that. Right.
Correct.
So, maybe he assumes there's another threat. Maybe he assumes it's an answer. It's hard to say because Lee did have a choice of the 3 cards in his hand. He got to keep one of them, and whatever is left is what he kept, at least if you're sitting in Shota's seat there. But we could see that desperation play that we talked about where, if there's only one more Oracle left in the deck and it happens to be in the bottom, I mean, it depends on what your devotion is, but if it's in the bottom 1 or 2, you could just start exiling stuff and hope that it's down there. That would obviously be a last case scenario, but it could be pretty exciting.
Same thing.
Flip cards.
Same thing could be said for 4-mana Jace. Oracle of Truths, I think. There's so many Jaces, I can't remember all the names of them
Wielder
now.
of Mysteries.
I was not even close then.
I don't know. Yeah.
Oracle
Jace
Truths,
14.
That sounds like a Jace.
Yeah.
But you could do the same thing there as well, where if it's like the last 2 or 3 cards, like last 1, 2, so Jace 1, 2 mill, and then try to draw. So it's got to be the third to last card in your deck, because then you plus it, you mill 2, and then you try to draw and you can't.
Yes.
So all right, so we've got outs, and it looks like we can come back.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right, well, we can get right back into it here, and we're going to come back in when that Faithless Looting was resolving the turn prior, so we know that Lee ends up keeping the Arclight Phoenix in hand, attacking, chump block, and then we'll pick up from there. So here we go. Can Shota pull this thing out? Lee eventually, finally got that pressure that was unanswered as Shota has kind of fumbled around on his side and is really serving up a very serious amount of pressure now. Chump block here from Fae of Wishes, activate Maze Mind Tome, gain 4, go to 7. and scry.
All right, put that card to the bottom. All right, so
Right,
the draw
that's
step's a
key
mystery.
for Shi Tian.
Yeah.
Down to 4. And look at that, crossing his fingers. Don't do it to me, he says.
How do we do?
Oh, it is Chase Wielder of Mysteries. Oh my God. He actually hit it.
Oh, he's so sick.
That's incredible. And now he can just exile his library and then plus Chase.
It was worth the wait, baby.
Wow, sick read, Cedric. Oh, and poor Shi Tian, he's like, really? This is happening to me?
Oh,
crazy.
That rules.
And Shota has no choice but to just go for it. He's facing lethal. He has no other way to interact, and he needs to do this on his turn. He's going to put the ability on the stack and then Tainted Pact, and here we go. It's going to be a good game, though, from Shi Tian. He just says, yeah, you got me.
Lost to a one of.
Incredible.
Bad beat. Lost to a one of. Got one outered.
Oh, man. The one of Planeswalkers. That's the story. Oh, man. That was brutal.
That's sick. With so much on the line. I mean, you can see Shi Tian is already, he plays with his emotions on his sleeve, and it's a tough matchup to begin with. So it feels even worse in a spot like this where you're just kind of like, oh man, like I might actually steal a game. Who knows how game 3 is going to go? Obviously, you have no idea what's going to happen there.
I can't even watch. Look at that. He took a while to even be able to hit the button to let Tainted Pact resolve, and now Shota just gets to go through the motions. But you can see the emotions for Shi Tian. This was so close. It came down to that last scry to the bottom, and then boom, Jace off the top.
And Marshall, it's brutal too, because you got to remember, a turn and a half ago or whatever, Lee had these 2 threats, dispute and negate. And if we were to zoom into him right then and ask him how you feel about this game, he's like, this is about as good as I can do.
Yes.
Like
totally. This really was. I mean, it took him. He had to work through some removal, but he did finally assemble that combination of disruption and threats. And, he was able to use his disruption to protect the threats and really say, check, right? He's just like, look, Shota, you're going to have to get very lucky to get out of this mess. And, he kind of did.
Yeah, he kind of did. And, Shota played it beautifully as he oftentimes does. That was a really, really good game. I know we're working on the finishing touches here as Jace Wielder of Mysteries is going to win it. So huge win there for Shota. And what an awesome match that was.
That was sick. Wow. And we even got the unplanned technical sweat there too.
Yeah.
So
we see you Twitch chat. We see you Twitch chat making fun of Arena, wishing it worked appropriately. I say I'm glad it didn't there. How about that? Made us sweat it out even a little longer.
Yeah, that was sick. Wow. Okay. Well, a tough one there for Shi Tian. He takes a loss. Shota Yasooka picks up a narrow victory there in 2. Also worth noting, Shota was up a game there. He was in a pretty good position, but he'll be very happy to have escaped that one without having to earn it for the next one. So a nice win for Shota. And again, showing off, the power of that deck. It can get you out of nowhere. And kind of interesting, you'd prefer to have a bunch of 4-ofs so that the deck was as consistent as possible, but there is a little merit to having the 1-ofs because you do get to throw different looks and slightly different effects at your opponents that are similar but not quite the same, and it can matter. We actually saw that here where the 1-of Jace, the 1-of Narset were the cards that were the most important for there. So we're going to take a short break, catch our breath. When we come back, though, we'll have more Magic for you. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to coverage here. So we've got another match to bring you. This one's between Matt Sperling and Grzegorz Kowalski. And I would say it's the matchup that kind of defines that league, the historic and the current metagame for it. It's Dimir Pact in the hands of Grzegorz. And then on the other side, it is Jeskai Control for Sperling. So let's take a look at Grzegorz' Dimir deck. It's pretty much the same as what we've been seeing. There's variation in card choice. There's a few little innovations here and there, like the Mastermind's, what is it called?
Mastermind's Acquisition.
Acquisition, thank you. Yeah, that card, you see a few things, Narcissus Reversal here, some spicy stuff, but for the most part, these aren't the most impactful because generally speaking, they can't be because they're just one-offs.
Yeah, I mean, again, you can just kind of, this is the thing that's kind of interesting or fun about this deck for you deck builders out there is you can kind of do a little season to taste. You want Aether Spellbomb? Fine. Put it in your deck. If you want Augur of Bolas? Fine. You can play that too. You have to play 2 packs and 2 Thassa's Oracles. You probably have to play some discard spells like, an Inquisition and a Duress and a Thoughtseize. You're going to want to play some Mana Sweepers. Do you want to play some Mana Rocks like Mindstone? Sure. But that's kind of the fun thing about this is like you can kind of just do what you want to do. The sweepers here. There's a Yahenni's Expertise. There's a Ritual of Soot. Seen some people playing a Languish this weekend. Do whatever you want. Season to taste. Have some fun. As long as you got the combo in there, you're probably going to be all right.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of cards that everybody's putting in. Let's take a look at the Jeskai Control deck here for Sperling.
Well, yep. This is the boogeyman for this deck,
there
right?
It is.
We saw Luis playing this a little bit earlier on the weekend, and the idea here is less so about killing the Pact players, but more so about stopping them from being able to go off because they can really go off a finite number of times. So we did see a game in which Luis was able to get a Teferi, get the emblem, and start buzzsawing away all the permanents. So that's a way to win. We saw another game where Shark Typhoon was a 4-4. It was that in combination with some timely counter magic to win. So there's a couple ways to go about doing it. But ideally, you're putting your opponent between a rock and a hard place of being able to actually ever be able to go off repeatedly. And if you can do that, you're going to be able to win. And that doesn't even take into account how powerful getting into the trials alongside its emblem is. So couple ways here for Jeskai Control Marshall to get the job done.
That's right. We're going to be joining this match in progress. We're going to see game 3 of it. And that means that, of course, we're going to get to see sideboarded game that's also a decider, on who's going to end up winning the match here. You can see points-wise, Matt Sperling really near the top of the standings there for him. He's at 44 points. Kowalski still very much relevant as far as the standings go, but he is a significant number down. He's down on 40 points total. So, these players are kind of in the same ballpark, but really Sperling's quite a bit ahead.
Yeah, and Sperling has had another really, really good weekend, and he'd love to lock up that slot to Worlds. So this is one step closer in what, Marshall, you have to imagine, given the deck selection, he's just like, this is what I want to play against.
Yep.
Right here.
I mean, Luis said he was farming these decks. I mean,
yeah.
They seem quite confident about the matchup. And if that's the case, I mean, you can see why they decided to pick this deck, even though this pack deck exists and is quite obviously very powerful. If you have a good matchup against the deck you think people are going to play, and you can pick up some points against the rest of the competition, that's exactly where you want to be for a metagame call.
Totally agree.
And we're going to see a Hollowed Fountain come in untapped here to leave Brainstorm available. There's Wishclaw Talisman for Kowalski. Matt tweeted a little earlier today that he doesn't feel like he's been playing his A game this weekend, just kind of having one of those weekends where you're not quite as focused, but it hasn't slowed him down that much. He's still continuing his very, very impressive performance in the Rivals League.
Yeah, I mean, Matt is pretty self-critical on his performance. It's obviously an incredibly skilled and talented Magic player with Pro Tour top 8s, among other things, on his resume. And for him, I think there's also a lot of pressure that he may be putting on himself insofar as I am so close to Worlds. I'm so close to this, so close to MPL, so close to everything that's involved with this. And I just, every slight mistake can feel like it's much larger than it is. But when you're as close as you are right now to the things he wants to accomplish, I can understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, same. And, Matt's somebody who really kind of experiences the full gamut of being a Magic player, right? He's been a Magic professional. He's made content for years. He's outspoken in the community with his opinions, and he doesn't only play, these type of tournaments. There's a lot of players where you say, "Hey, have you drafted a new set?" And they say, "Well, there's no tournament for it coming up, so no." Yeah. Right? Hey, did you check out the Cube that they updated some cards? It's like, well, there's no tournament coming up for Cube, so I don't play it anymore. Matt's not like that. And Matt will play Legacy. He had a long run where he was brewing and playing Legacy. He got into Old School for a while. He loves that format. So, Matt's somebody who really does kind of he embodies a Magic player kind of head to toe. But not all people that do that are one of the better players in the world, and he actually is.
Totally agree.
So, churning through the library here is Kowalski.
Been a minute since I've seen Anticipate.
Yeah. I guess you do what you got to do.
I like that.
It's not quite on the level of some of the other cards, but when you're restricted to one-ofs, I guess you just got to do it.
I think that no one has any positive words for Anticipate. That was just a very... I mean, you got to play it, I guess.
Yes, that is about where I'm willing to go with it. There it is. It's an Anticipate. In the meantime, Brainstorm here from Sperling as he's looking to really kind of, again, you don't need to have massive pressure. We saw Luis Scott Vargas use a combination. In one game, he had a shark, like a 4/4 shark token pounding. And then the other game, he ended up getting an ultimate with his Teferi Hero of Dominaria. You can kind of pick and choose what type of pressure you have, but you take a look at Memory Lapse there, and it really overperforms in the matchup. We saw this, you think, oh, it's a good delay tactic, but when you actually watch the combo play out, they'll play the Oracle, get the trigger from it, and then play Pact. And if you nail the Pact with a Memory Lapse, well, the next time they cast it, they don't have that Oracle trigger that gives them the win. It doesn't mean it's not powerful the next time, but it is a much different world where your opponent's just cold casting Pact into nothing when they're casting it with literally the win on the stack otherwise. And that makes Memory Lapse very, very powerful in the matchup.
Totally agree. Memory Lapse was maybe a bit of a surprise to many, myself included, seeing it in the Mystical Archive. And it's a card that I think a lot of people haven't had the opportunity to cast. It's really good. It's really good. It may not look like it because it's not a hard counter, but in the situations where it's good, there's really no replacement for what it does.
And in those situations, it is better than its contemporaries, than Counterspell or because it's easier to cast. It allows you to play 3-color decks like the one that Matt's playing and still fire off Memory Lapses with really no issues ever. Where double blue, no, sometimes it's hard to get, say, quadruple blue up so that you can do 2 of them. If you need 2 Memory Lapses in a turn, it's not that hard for a deck like this.
For sure.
Here comes Solve the Equation for Grzegorz. He can search his library for an instant or sorcery card.
This is where things get a little interesting on Matt's end because he does have a lot of counter magic in the 2 copies of Memory Lapse and a Dovin's Veto and a commit. Only 5 mana at this exact moment. Looks like he's going to use Castle Vantress to scry 2 and maybe try to find a 6th land. But I find it interesting because when is he going to start using these counter spells? How's he want to go about start doing this? Looks like he's going to go to Gideon. He's thinking Gideon right now.
Absolutely. Interestingly, Grzegorz is he's recognized, look, I'm not under any pressure at all here. I can really take my time. And the card that I keep looking at is that Inquisition of Kozilek that he's just sitting on in his hand while he uses his mana to sculpt the perfect combo hand.
Yeah, that's what he's trying to do right now. You see he's going to cash in this Omen of the Sea, scry 2, send them both to the bottom. We can't forget that there is a Wishclaw Talisman on the battlefield right now too, so you can use that, find one of the things that's missing, be it a combo piece or something else, and then that's one step closer to accomplishing your win all in the same turn. But you spoke about this discard spell, and now it's on the stack.
This is a big indicator that Grzegorz wants to try to go off here. He has the tools to do it. But Sperling, playing very carefully, has left up all of his mana. And we're going to see Dovin's Veto on Inquisition of Kozilek. He doesn't want to have to face that card again next turn, so he's just going to use a hard counter on it.
That's a pretty strong stance, too, about, all right, I don't want this to resolve because again, you're looking at a hand with 2 copies of memory lapse, and he's just saying no. This one I don't want to see. I don't want to see you cast again.
That's right. And then hilariously, Grzegorz has his backup plan of Luris of the Dream Den, which he just kind of gets to do for free, basically. He's going to pay the tax and put it into his hand. Let's just say it's not plan A. Ooh, speaking of plan A, there's a pack rat off the top of the library here for Kowalski. That's another card that Matt's going to have to contend with. He can't just let it sit there. It's my boy.
It could be. Are we going to do this again?
We're doing this again.
Are we gonna say rats off to you?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is that like the Tainted Pact and the combo is cute, but we know what we're really here for. The star of the show. Patrick Ratterson. So let's see what Kowalski wants to do. It looks like he's thinking about activating the Wishclaw Talisman. Now, normally this is reserved to go get you a combo piece, but does he want to get Disruption as Thoughtseize or some way to clear out the hand and feel Thought Distortion? Hello! Didn't see that one coming, and that card cannot be countered. What is the option here for Sperling to do?
Commit this? Okay.
He's got commit. Oh, boy. All right. He really needed that one. Now, that's going to send it back for a little while, but the clock is very real now. Sperling has himself a Wishclaw Talisman. He has a turn with all the mana available. What does he do with it?
All right. Well, I guess the window's open now for like Teferi or Narset or Gideon. Boy, that could have gotten ugly.
Yeah, I suppose. Like, do you just have to have Gideon before this turn's over? I mean, sure. This is your passive way to protect yourself from losing.
Yeah, you're safe. I mean, Gideon plus Emblem means that you're safe.
Right. Now, there is Baleful Mastery there. That hits Planeswalkers. But he doesn't have the Wishclaw Talisman to go get the other part of the combo anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, Thought Distortion's coming up next turn as well, and that's going to be devastating if it goes off.
Yeah, that commit was key, because Memory Lapse doesn't actually get the job done. Memory Lapse has counter target spell, and then if that spell is countered this way, you get to put it on top of its owner's library instead of into that player's graveyard. But Thought Distortion is uncounterable, so it actually had to be that one of commit memory, more important than the commit half of that Amonkhet card, to stop that backbreaking Thought Distortion. But as we all know, Sperling did have it, and now we might be thinking your old friend here, Marshall.
That's right. This is really interesting because Grzegorz says, well, I'm not going to Thoughtseize you because if I'm just going to Thought Distortion next turn anyway, which, by the way, would take every single card from Sperling here. Oh, and he draws Dovin's Veto.
I wonder what Sperling's frustrated about.
Did he need a land for something?
Not sure, because that was quite the reaction there.
It really was. He must have. Something happened there. Yeah. Okay, he's going to minus Narset. And it's more nothing for him here. Although I do suppose he has 2 Lightning Helices. He can play them both. That would solve the rat problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's nearly enough, though. I also am curious about the Wishclaw Talisman for Sperling. Is there some way he can leverage that into a way to deal with the Thought Distortion that's coming?
This game's getting interesting.
It's super.
This game's getting interesting. Because another thing that's kind of unique about this game too, that I don't know if it's going to come up, but I'm just going to mention it, is here's a Helix. But like he has Narset and Memory, which is a combo.
Mm-hmm.
So when does he get the opportunity to fire that off? I don't know, right? Because we can make you could certainly say, all right, so you Thought Distortion me, you clean me out. All right, cool. I'll flashback Memory. I'll clean you out.
Right. So the question is, are you dead? Right. Like, do you get the hold on, let's see what's going on here. It looks like they're going to have a fight over the pack rat here. Memory lapse, which is really interesting because it actually would put Grzegorz another turn away from that thought distortion, wouldn't it?
Yep. Yes, it would. And it's easy to say that the casting of memory is taken care of by mystical dispute, but it really depends on how these turns play. Because Matt is like, I think, incentivized to act, though he did just say oops.
Also worth noting that thought distortion exiles all non-creature, non-land cards from that player's hand and graveyard.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. And
So
graveyard.
it would
Thank you.
nail
Yeah.
memory.
No, that's a really good call. That's a really
Wow,
good call.
this is a crazy game. So we're going to see Pack Rat get activated, but Matt actually has the answer here, and he's bought himself another turn where he can use Lightning Helix to kill this other rat, solve the rat problem, have the Planeswalkers, and not get Thought Distortion next turn. Now, I don't know if that's enough, but he's at least not going to get 4 for 1 tier, and even more if you count the memory.
Okay, so you draw Negate, and now is your play just Luris get Pack Rat back?
Oh, God, please say that.
Right?
Yes.
So, like, you went through all this work of killing Pack Rat. I mean, all this work is a bit hyperbolic, but, you went through the work of killing Pack Rat, and now I just have Pack Rat back alongside Luris. So now you have to worry about this stuff. And so now, boy, we are just all over the place this game. Wow.
Kowalski, of course, has definitely left up mana for Negate here so that Matt Sperling doesn't get to do the memory plan.
Yeah.
Which would also clean up the thought distortion issue.
Yeah, he has Tainted Pact as well as just, and Sperling knows he has it. He's seen it in this game, but it kind of sits there, kind of looming over this game is kind of a combo piece. You obviously have to take care of Gideon first, but more of a demonic tutor of here's the exact thing that I'm looking for to take care of this problem on the battlefield or in your hand. And don't want to forget, just want to mention it one more time because you've done a great job of mentioning as well, but there's so much going on. Thought Distortion is the top card of Kowalski's deck.
Mm-hmm.
Because I almost forgot that.
Yeah, because it was the top, then it was not the top anymore because of memory lapse, and now it's on the top again.
Whew. This is a game.
How does Sperling get out of this?
Another Narset. Okay.
Leaving him with 2 mana. This is game 3, remember, between these players. We came in after the first 2 games had finished, and boy, this has been an awesome game, and this match must have been amazing. God, what is the plan here for Sperling? I don't know.
All right, well, Luris is going to get shut down by Gideon for a turn. That makes a lot of sense.
But easy game here for Kowalski, who's just going to slam this thought distortion again.
I would think so.
I mean, he's going to get effectively a 5 for 1 off of the dang thing.
So Sperling's last turn was kind of interesting, right? Because playing that second Narset looks weird. But what he did is he played second Narset and didn't activate it. And so what that leads me to believe is he knows he's going to lose his grip, right?
Yep.
So there's no point in activating it because you're just going to lose the card that you find.
That's
and
right.
You also don't want it to have less loyalty. In the off chance that something unexpected happens, there's more damage. Oh, wow. Oh, boy.
What just happened? We're now back on the Pack Rat, protect my Pack Rat plan here for Kowalski.
I didn't see this coming. All right,
I did not see this coming. To be fair, Kowalski doesn't know the hand of Sperling, but I mean, look at the deck list. Like, basically his whole deck meets the description of the cards on Thought Distortion.
Okay. I mean, that was so. Oh man, I love when this happens. This is a very much a that I know that you know that I know situation. It's like you knew I drew Thought Distortion. I know you knew that.
Now we're going to see Narset activated.
Mm-hmm. This probably has something to do with Brainstorm because Sperling put some cards back.
Yeah, that's probably the case. And Kowalski says, I can sit. I don't have to do stuff here.
Yeah.
And now I'll get the card that you put back on top of your library as well. And now that expressive iteration's on the stack, whatever was underneath that is going away as well.
Okay, so here's another lapse. Maybe you're just taking lapse because you're fine with that being carded you discard. It looks like we're going to play another iteration. Okay, so now it looks like I don't want to say we're fully tapping out because that's not true. Ooh, another brainstorm. Okay.
Expressive iteration into no land here, so this is all just stuff that's going away here for Sperling.
Yep, and so now Sperling's going to brainstorm. And so I have to imagine, is this him hiding cards? And is this something that Kowalski's going to let resolve? Okay, the answer is yes. So now Sperling is going to hide Teferi and Veto.
Okay, so he's trying to set up for post-distortion.
That's what it feels like. God, I'd love some diving into Sperling's mind right now of what, because obviously he's frustrated about something or some things. Maybe it's lack of lands that he's been finding off of this stuff.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to do multiple things in a turn, and the inability to find lands won't allow him to do that. But clearly he is frustrated with how this game is going or has gone up until this point. Whoa!
Oh, look at that from Kowalski.
Look at Sperling's face!
Discarding it. This is incredible. He's all in on Pack Rat. He just assumes that Sperling has no way to interact with Pack Rat as far as sweepers go, and he knows he can kill all the planeswalkers he wants with these Pack Rats, and he's all in. What a play here from Kowalski.
So now Kowalski can go for the win, right? He can just go, yeah, it's good. It's this game. Oh my gosh, that was
incredible play here from Grzegorz Kowalski.
Okay, so oh my gosh. So this game just like took this insane shift where it's like, actually, it's not about the thought distortion at all, man. It's about the Pack Rat to take care of the Gideon nonsense. And now I can actually combo off on you because I've drawn another copy of the pack because you spent all of your turn doing all this cantripping with all of the blue mana. Your shields are down.
Incredible. Kowalski discarding the thought distortion just to say, I've got this, right? I have the combo now assembled with my ability to kill your Gideon to get that off the board, and he has left Matt Sperling just he has to just think through this game. Such a difficult game to play, and now you see the triggers on the stack, and all you have to do is just hit decline a whole bunch of times here if you're Kowalski, and he's going to pick up the match over Sperling. What a game between these two. Next level plays back and forth.
That's game of the weekend. That's game of the weekend. Not
incredible.
Close. Not even close game of the weekend. Because, again, there's so much going on between both players and the thought process of both players about, like, you know that I know that you know that I know, blah, blah, blah going on. And, you know, like, he was able to actually get Gideon and an emblem down the battlefield. Then Pack Rat showed up. Then it was about killing Pack Rat. Then it was Luris getting Pack Rat back. I mean, Marshall, I guess it's just you, man. It's you and Pack Rat. You're the cause of this.
I always know you could do it, Patrick. You're doing great, buddy. Keep it up.
Patrick Ratterson is just getting it in.
Yeah. All he had to do was take out a Planeswalker in this case and clear the way for the combo.
Wow.
Got so many interesting little interactions. Sperling really bricked on lands through a whole bunch of those. Then on the last one here, he decided to play the tap land rather than the passage. I don't know what he had access to left, but that left with just one white